Hello everyone and welcome to my latest tutorial, and today it's Formula 1 themed. Now, with the announcement that Fernando Alonso is returning to Formula 1 after being out in the cold for 2 years, racing IndyCar and World Endurance Championships, etc., he's coming back to Renault, so it inspired me to create this Renault poster from his glory days when he won the championships back in 2005 and 6, I believe, thinking off the top of my head. And yeah, so what I've done is I've included a free PSD file, so the link's in the description below. And if you want to go ahead and download that and open it up in Photoshop. Now I'm using Adobe Photoshop 2020, so it should be available to use in older versions as well. With the font as well, I'll talk about the font in later on in the tutorial, but that can be downloaded. If you're a regular of my channel, then chances are you've pretty much already got that font already. And if you open it up, if you have a look, okay, we've got the original document, so if I just open it up there, okay, it's all there for you to have a look at and see how I've made it. However, just for the purposes of this tutorial, make things a lot easier, I'm going to hide that away, and I've included the source files. Now, obviously, I'm using some logos here, especially things like the Formula 1 logo. They're all, well, copyrighted, okay, but I'm just using them for my own personal use, and just to teach you guys how to use Photoshop, so no copyright intended there. And it just makes life a lot easier as well, cutting out the car. It took me quite a while, so while I was cutting it out, I thought rather than cut it out again during the tutorial, I'm just going to put it in a PSD file for everyone. So this already is on a 1600 by 1200 canvas. If you want to create a new document, okay, that's the canvas size I'm using. Again, for any other motorsport, or it can be a football player, any sport, feel free to use whatever resolution sizes you want. And the first thing I'm going to do is, okay, I'm just going to, like I said, I've hidden that layer away there. Okay, you can see we've got the shiny reflection, we've got a floor and a bit of a background, so we're going to go through it now. So I've got that document there selected. I'm going to create a new layer, okay, and this is the layer we're going to be working off. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and the shortcut for that one is U. And make sure it's not path, it's shape. Okay, and I'm just going to create a thin rectangle like that. Now the colour I'm going to use is this dark blue colour. So let me go ahead and just double check what colour this is. So click on this palette there. Okay, it's 1A2235, 1A2235, and click OK. And I used just hide that a second. I used this. I sourced these colours from the car, so we're using the original Renault Sport livery. Okay, so bring that back up to the front. Now, what I'm going to do is got this. In fact, create a new layer underneath. So a new layer. Okay, what I'm going to do is, if you see your rulers there, if you don't see them, you can just press Command R. Okay, and that'll bring the rulers up. To show you, and what you can do is you can snap some grids in, and I'm going to snap it in there so it's nice and central. And you can see there I've already previously used some, which we'll be using shortly, so I'll leave them there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my rectangle, Command T, transform tool, and I'm just going to line it up and place it down. And I'm happy with something like that. Yeah. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select that layer again, and I'm just going to do another rectangle tool. This time I'm going to go for this light blue colour, so we'll see what that looks like. I'm going to drag and drop something like that, so it's underneath the dark blue rectangle. Now that colour there, if I press I on my eyedropper, is 8AC9EF, 8AC9EF, and click OK. And what I can do is I can press Command J, I can duplicate that layer, Command T to bring up my transform tool, drag it across, select my rectangle tool again, go to my fill layer and select this yellow colour. And the yellow colour is F2C750. F2C750. At any point, if I'm going too fast, if you're watching on YouTube, you can press K on your keyboard to pause it, and J will skip you back, make things a little bit easier. Okay, what we can do now as well is we can bring in our images of our background images. So I'm going to select this background image of Fernando. I'm going to press Command T. I'm just going to drag him across, and he's going to be on the left hand side. Okay, I'm going to drag him just below the rectangle there. Okay, I'm going to clip him, so he's only going to be visible in this yellow layer. Okay, press Command T, hold Alt down. I'm just going to grow him in proportion, and go for something like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer mask by clicking this little button down here. Make sure I've got black selected, B, and I've got my flow around 50 and opacity at 50. Okay, and I'm just going to paint away those lines. What I'm also going to do is, before I start doing that, I'm going to drop the fill down to about 10, 15, and the opacity down slightly to about 80. Okay, and there may be still a bit of a line visible, so I'm just going to paint along the top there. The bottom I'm not too fussed about because we're going to put the floor in, but it's nice if it just blends in like so. And I'm going to do the same for this image. Again, I'm just going to drag it down above the blue one, clip it by holding Alt on my keyboard and hovering between the layers. That clips it. See, it's disappeared, it's only visible on the blue layer. I'm just going to raise this one a little bit higher, and I'm going to grow this one something like that. And again, I'm going to drop the fill down. I want them barely visible, but just enough just to add a little bit of spice to the image. And again, create a layer mask, hit the B on my brush tool, make sure I've got black selected, and I'm just going to paint away the bottom, get rid of those harsh edges. But when I do a little bit of quality control at the end of the tutorial, or usually when I finish an edit, I will just check around for those edges. So press Command H to get rid of those lines as well. Makes things a lot easier. So now I'm going to add the floor. So I'm going to select the rectangle tool there. I'm going to hold Shift layer, I'm going to select the rectangle layer there. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift and select the bottom layer. And I press Command G. I'm going to group them. I'm going to call that background. Okay, next I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to press Command J. And it's duplicated that group there. Now I'm going to open it up and I'm going to hide the two images that we've got there. And I'm going to close it up. I'm going to press Command T. And I'm going to drag it down. And don't worry too much about that bit there. What we can do is we can select that layer, the dark blue rectangle, and we can just drag it up slightly. There we go. So it's nice and aligned. Command T again, and I'm just going to drop it down somewhere around there. Press Command 0, comes out. I'm going to open, right click, and skew, and there we go. We can just skew it across like so, and hit enter. Now, because of the perspective, what I'm going to do, I'll press Command T again, and I'm just going to squash it up. Command 0. It's going to be something like that. It's really really hard to get right. Okay, take your time, play around with it, and you can flatten it out as I have done just there. And Command T, Command 0. It's just a case of playing around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speed it up until I get it right. Okay, there we go. Absolute nightmare there. I sped it up, cut a little bits out. It took me a good couple of minutes. Okay, so when you get your layer, if you mess it up, okay, just delete it and just recopy it. And yeah, just press Command T, skew it, and Command 0, and just yes, skew it across just slightly at like 45 degrees, and then just squash it up as well, and drop it down so it's just under a quarter of the image. Again, it just takes time to play around with it, play around with the shapes. I can't really say much more than that, to be honest. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to convert this into a smart object, but first what I need to do is I just need to make sure that the yellow rectangle covers the gap there, so you can see where I've just skewed it across. So select the yellow rectangle, press Command T, and we should, if we just grow it out like that and just drag it back in, we should be able to cover that gap there as well, because I've skewed it that way. If you skew it the other way, okay, you'd need to look at the blue layer and make sure everything's nicely aligned, which it isn't, so you can just use your keys just to nudge it up, and that's looking okay. The car's going to cover that area anyway. Okay, so now we've got our floor selected. What I can do is with this group here, okay, I can right click and I can convert it into a smart object. And there we go. So now I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to press D on my keypad, and it's going to make the black and white on my palette selected. I'm going to hit B on my keyboard. My opacity is at 50%. I've lowered the flow down to 6. Okay, I'm just going to paint across just there, and you can see the floor start to develop. So once or twice, 3 times over, that's absolutely fine. And call, yeah, that's fine. Okay, select the background layer underneath, select a new layer, so it's going to be interacting between the wall, we'll call it, and the floor. Okay, I'm going to lower that brush. I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard, and I'm just going to drag across a few times like that. Okay, and you can start to see that shadow is being created, and that looks okay to me. Do I want to do it once more? I'm not going to do it any more than that. I think that looks really good now. So we've got like that 3D effect. Next, I'm going to bring in the car. So if you click it, it's already sorted. So that's brilliant. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a shadow. So we've got our car selected. Okay, I'm going to press Command J. I'm going to call that shadow. Now, just for the purposes of the tutorial, what you can do is convert that into a smart object. And what you can do is you go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and you can slide it across. Now my Photoshop always breaks for some reason, but it hasn't that time, so I'm happy with that. Okay, brilliant. my Photoshop's been freezing and breaking whenever I've been playing around with that one there. Okay, so if we get rid of that, okay, we've got that nice black shadow underneath. Okay, I'm going to press Command T, and I'm not going to do that because I'm still used to holding the other ones. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm just going to drag it underneath like so. And that's looking okay. I'm going to change the blend mode. Let's have a play around. Not overlay. We'll go with soft light. Okay, and you can use your keys on your keyboard. Just to play around with it. And what we can do there is we can go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Okay, and we can give it a bit of a blur. So we're going to give it 5 pixels. Click OK, and you can see the shadow just start to form there. Okay, that's what we initially want, but we're going to work on it a little bit more. So we're going to create a new layer. B over there. B on my brush tool. And we've got a flow right down. I'm just going to paint across. What we're doing is just trying to create a shadow underneath because we want it nice and dark. Let's take that back to normal. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, we've still got that blur there. What we can do is we can just tidy that one up so we can create a layer mask. Bring that flow right up. Just get rid of the shadow there. That side and just around there as well. That's tidied it up there. That looks a lot better there. Okay, and this layer here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new layer. So I'm going to put it above it. In fact, yep. And I'm going to bring the flow down. Keep the opacity up at 100. Have the flow around 5 or 6. And there we go. That's a lot better. See, my Photoshop seems to be lagging for some reason. Okay, what I like to do is I like to create a like a touch layer as well. So I'm going to create another layer. So it's all about the layers. Nice small brush. You can see my Photoshop's lagging for some reason. I don't know why that is. So apologies, but my Photoshop seems to be playing up. So I'm just going to keep playing around with these shadows now, so we can just something like that. Okay, and what we can do, so I've done enough of the shadows there, okay. I can't emphasize enough really taking your time and enhancing those shadows. Now what we can do is select your car, so it's this image here. Okay, create a new layer, clip it, and this is going to be the car shadow. And what we can do as well, we can just help that blend in. So I've got the flow there, I'm going to lower that flow down. And just the underneaths there, we can just darken those out because they're features that we're not really interested in seeing. And it just helps it blend into the floor a bit. We're not too bothered about a light source on this image, where our light's coming from, etc. like I usually do on my other tutorials. Lighting and shading is the hardest thing to get right, but again, can't stress enough taking your time on this. I am rushing for the purpose of the tutorial. Okay, so that just helps it blend in a little bit better with the car. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is just with the car as well, I'm going to add a levels, so an adjustment layer. So I'm going to go to levels, and I'm just going to make sure it's clipped like it is. So slide that across to 6, just to darken it out a little bit, and it's the same again for a curved adjustment layer as well. I'm just going to drop that down there, play around. Yeah, that's looking good. Command 0. Now, if you notice on the main document, I've done a dodge and burn layer. So I'm going to create a new layer. Okay, I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, 50% grey, mode normal, 100% opacity. Okay, and it fills it, but I'm going to change that blend mode to overlay. Then I'm going to go over here to my burn tool by pressing it on my keyboard. Okay, and I'm just going to burn in, and it just gives a nice 3D effect. Make sure you've got your midtone selected in your exposure. And I'm just going to burn in. Now, cars are a bit funny. Obviously they're harder to work out than doing it on people for shadows and stuff, but again, take your time. All these bits underneath the shadow, just highlight those. Again, do it to your heart's content, so you can see there, just creating a bit of a 3D effect, and then you can also go to your Doge tool and just paint the top of the tyres as well. And maybe the top of Fernando's helmet there. So you can see that 3D effect that we're going through there. And straight away, just a quick 2 minutes there, looks fantastic, but I can't stress enough really taking your time on that one. Okay, now so with the car copy, so select your car level, press Command J, and what we're going to do is the level underneath, select that one, press Command T. I'm going to right click, I'm going to do flip vertical. That's what I'm going to do, sorry. I'm just going to drag that down and line it up. Something like that. Okay, and I'm going to add a layer mask, hit B on my brush tool, flows around 10%. I'm just going to paint away. That's going to make it a little bit stronger, 20% maybe. So apologies, but my Photoshop is really lagging. But there we go, that's the and just sweep across just there. And that's the shine that we're going through for the reflection. So it looks like the floor, is nicely polished surface. So that's how we get that effect there. So you can take your time on that one. If you go a bit too strong, press X on your keyboard, bring up the white. Okay, and you can just polish it back on there, press X. There we go. So that's how we get that reflection. So a quick little thing like that, and that's how we do it. So that's looking fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to group these. So I'm going to press car shadow and down to this shadow. Command G, group them, call that car. Next, the Fernando image there, so with the car copy as well, and our background and floor, so I'm going to call that one floor, Command G. We've got our car, I'm just going to drag the car down. Apologies, I'm going to just drag the car down there. Alonso copy, which is from before, I'm going to drag that underneath the car. And he's already positioned there, so I'm happy with that. It's entirely up to you how you want to position him. And then the Fernando copy here, I'm going to drag down underneath the car as well, and also underneath the Alonso copy there, and that's already positioned. Now what you can do with this image here is you can add a layer mask, and because it's already positioned roughly around where you'd like it, okay, you can just paint away a little bit just there so it's not looking as harsh. So it like blends in slightly with the background, which I think gives it a nice subtle effect. So it looks like Fernando's coming out of some sort of smoky mist. So I like that. So see, I've just dragged up there and dragged there as well. So there. If you also wish as well, you can create a new layer, clip it by holding Alt on your keyboard. Make sure white's selected on your palette. Flow. Go for around 15. Okay, and you can accentuate them highlights all around. You can dodge and burn as well. Okay, I'm just using a nice soft brush. In fact, I've done it on the wrong layer. It's that layer there. So we go, I've clipped it to that one there. So in fact, I'll get rid of that, start again. So on the helmet design layer, clip it, white selected. Go for around 9 or 10. And just on those bits there, just to accentuate those highlights. Again, entirely up to you how you want to do it. Like I said, you can dodge and burn as well. And you can see we just added the highlights there. So I do apologise, I would spend more time on that, but for some reason my Photoshop's lagging with the brush tool. So I need to look at that. And then it's into the text. So we'll do the logos first. So got the Formula 1 logo. So before press Command H, okay, these reference lines might not be there when you do it, but I'm going to select the Formula 1 logo and I'm going to shrink it down and I'm going to drop it down just onto that bottom line there. Now it's quite big, so it's just a little bit smaller than that line, something around there. And because I want it to match with the Alonso text, which is going to be white, okay, I'm just going to create an adjustment layer, hue saturation, clip it, and drag the lightness all the way up. And same again with the Renault Sport, Command T. In fact, I'm on the wrong layer. There we go, Command T. Bring that one down, drag that one there, sit it on, and then line them up. Something along those lines. And same again, adjustment layer, hue saturation, clip it to the Renault Sports logo, rise it up, and it's turned it white. Command 0, fantastic. And select the floor, which I've spelt wrong. Okay, select a new layer there. Hit the text tool. Okay, it's called Babus New, and want it up at around 50. So it's around here. I'm going to call it Alonso. I'm just going to move him up around here. Command A to highlight it, and we'll go for around 90. We'll go for something like that. So what you can also do, sorry, is Command A. No, not that one, sorry. Hit your type tool, Command A to highlight it all. Okay, so I've gone for my character window here for my text. If you can't see that, click on window and highlight character just there. Okay, and I'm going to give it an italic slant. If the letters are too far spaced apart, so you can play around. I'm going to go for a -30, that's okay. And with the size as well, I'm going to grow that up to about 125, I think I did before. And again, play around. -30 is looking okay there. And that's looking quite good. Yep, give it an italic slant. Yep, it's looking good. Command T. It's nice and centered. Maybe drop it just below the helmet. And then another T for the text. I'm going to type it away so it doesn't come in there. I'm going to go Fernando. Command A to highlight it. Drop it all the way down to there. And what colour should we use? We'll go for black. Fernando, or you could use that dark blue there. I'm just going to drag that up. Zoom in. And it's already slanted. You could line it up with the A and the L there if you wanted to, if you've got OCD. Okay, and we're pretty much nearly done there. Select the top layer, Command Shift Alt and E to create a stamp visible. Right click, convert that to a smart object. Go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. And the settings that I applied just for mine, just for this edit, was I raised the highlights up slightly. 5. Sorry, I lowered them down to -5. Apologies. The shadows were -5. The blacks were +20. Although on a phone screen it looked a little bit wrong, so go with 15. fact, I apologise again, it's minus 15. I'm reading my notes wrong. Texture was plus 10, that is correct. Giving it a little bit of texture, and clarity was plus 15 as well. So you can see the difference we're starting to make now to the edit, and the vibrance was plus 15. And click OK, and there is our edit. I think as well I can add a hue adjustment, hue saturation layer, and if you click, instead of default, reds boost, and then lower that opacity down. In fact, change the blend mode to darken and lower the opacity down. Just plays around with his face, and I think we're finished, and it looks okay. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. I'm a big Formula 1 fan. I love Liverpool Football Club and I love Formula 1. They're my two main sports. So if you want to see more Formula 1 edits, any drivers or anything, Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, any of the greats, Senna or anything, let me know in the comments below. Who's your favourite Formula 1 driver? Let me know in the comments below. Let's have a little chat about that. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And I will see you in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching.